your camera would have been over there.
Now, I don't want it to be too square.
Yeah, but now I must turn that way.
No.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
We're
Okay.
talking to each other.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's a conversation. It's not like a presenting type of thing.
Okay.
So welcome to the Capestance Motoring Mondays. Our special guest today is none other than Marley from Marley's Garage. And when we had Gary on last week, obviously we're diving into the past and into loaded up with the history, the archives of the Cape Town automotive scene. And you were a big pivotal role in, well, you made landmark builds in that time. You know, one of your vehicles were on the front of Speed and Sound. So we want to dive into that past, and like I was thinking, you know, we actually need to let the past live on the current social media, because that time you didn't have social media, right?
There was nothing like that,
So it was mostly if you only made it into Speed and Sound, and that's where you made.
Yeah, or on somebody's website like Raceweb and whatever.
Okay,
you know,
yes.
type of thing.
So what were the other like public publications out that time, like Raceweb?
I think it was
really
Raceweb.
Raceweb.
What was the
It
other
was
one?
even before Boost Essay.
Yeah. What was the
It was
other?
like mostly content creators as well. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That time was maybe Robert Horn. He used to post pictures. It was even
I wouldn't
before
know.
that.
The only magazine that we used to buy was Speed and Sound. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that was my. If I could just get onto Speed and Sound magazine. You know,
The goal.
that was your
end
goal. If you're on Speed and Sound, man, that
Yeah.
basically that was my goal.
So, what was the first car that started your whole automotive passion?
Right. So 1977 Beetle.
And in what year
And I
was
still
that?
own the Beetle now. But anyway, not that Beetle. So a 1977 Beetle that I bought for 1,300 rand. It was a rust bucket.
How
of
old were you?
note.
How old were you?
I was 20. I think I was 20 years old. I think I coughed up enough money. You know, that time I was in a band. So yeah, from gigs and stuff like that, I coughed up enough money and I bought it from a guy that was basically standing in his yard. It was pretty rusted. The floors was gone. No, engine was shot. And I bought the pistons and the rings and the barrels and the whole story.
So you built the
I
engine
rebuilt the
so
motor.
your first car was a
Yeah, no, it
build
was
already.
Look here. And that time I never had a welding machine.
Is that the car that you learned on?
I pop riveted that floor together. So it was look, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
But it's the starting point.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. Everybody starts with a arc welder
Yeah.
and then progress from there.
Okay, so do you have pictures of what that thing looked like when you were done with it? What's talk us through the end of that car.
So yeah, there's a long history to that car. So it was.
Okay, we won't go too deep into it,
Yeah.
but just like the end of like where did it end
You know, the thing is, I loaded it with the beam
Drop
adjusted,
the drop
right?
spindles
And
and
I
all
turned my splines down 2 notches. So I had negative camber badly on the. I would knock my sump regularly.
Yeah.
So it was because I had 14-inch wheels. You know, that time we didn't we never had like
Options for wheels.
17s was like, those guys are the guys to have 17s or even 15s. So I could only afford the CLI Golf. Obviously, I had adapter plates on. The CLI 14-inch rims with, I think it's 60 profile tires. I can't remember what the size was. But anyway, that was the way to go until some lady decided she's going to jump the robot.
Oh no.
And I just
ended the life
rode
of that
into
car.
the back of her M5 nicely. And then the insurance paid out. And I thought,
what am I getting now?
what am I going to do? No, what am I getting? What am I going to do to my car? Then
so you built it back up again after that?
Yes, no, then I chopped the roof. I lowered the roof. My screen was that size. I suicided the doors.
Oh my word.
My bonnet folded to the side. My tailgate folded to the side. It was,
So literally your first car, you already started all the customizations.
Because, you know, you don't think of it at the time. You just wanted to have a car. You know, you have a car and a girlfriend. Those are the 2 things that you're going to have. But afterwards, when it was basically fender pushed up. So the suspension wasn't damaged, but it was just cosmetics.
Okay.
And the insurance,
Like
that time when the insurance pay you 7,000 rand, it's a lot of money.
7,000.
7,000 rand. Remember, the car was worth probably less than that. But anyway, and and I customized it, did the whole crop top thingy, and until the cops decided.
What color was it?
Hey?
What color was it?
It was cerise, which is like a that
pinky.
shocking pink. You know, you will notice by me, I don't go with the normal. I
yes,
am always
it must be bold.
yeah. So that was the because you know back in the day there was a
But also you didn't. You see 21.
Yeah.
And then what year was it?
that was probably my early 20s, 22.
No, yeah, like decade.
Oh, that would be 1992, 93.
Okay, lekker.
So I was
early 90s.
Yeah, and obviously then already I had air suspension on my front.
Serious?
Yeah, no, I could press a button, brrr, and my front could go up. That was about
But
it.
that you had the compressor running straight to the back.
Compressor, no tank, no valves. It was just straight to the
Then
front.
how do you release? There's another solenoid to release the air.
Yeah, that's right. It's a valve. That was the solenoid, the valve. Open the valve and then would let the air out. But you know, it was because my car was ridiculously low. If you go over a speed bump, then my mother would not like to drive in my car because I had Sierra, the flip forward seats of the Sierra seats in there, and then every time you go over a speed bump, the seat would lean to the side because the floor was bad. I'm going to put it that way. It was bad. So my mother would move around. The seat would literally
unintentionally
move. Yeah, because the floor was scraping over the over the speed bump. So it was like
crazy.
bad. But yeah, until the cops said, "Hello, meneer.
This car had its
This
days."
this car got no door handles because I had door poppers.
Oh, okay.
Press the button, and my doors would pop open. So
That's cool.
yeah, no door handles, and it was obviously suicide doors. But
that's
they pulled me over for no door handles.
I'm saying obviously it's a risk. How are we gonna get you out if something happens?
So I
or whatever?
parked the car and I bought a Mark II Golf. That was my next car.
Okay.
And never customized that car at all.
Are you serious?
No, never
I'm
did nothing
shocked.
to it. No, never did anything to it.
Obviously, because now you were traumatized from the car being like taken off the road.
By that time I was married already. So I got married. My brother-in-law eventually, I sold it to my brother-in-law.
What was it? A CSL, GTI?
No, I'm talking about the Beetle.
Oh, okay.
Sold it to my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law on the condition that if you're gonna sell it back to me, because you know now you're married, your first kid is on the way. You now want a family car. That other car is not. Yeah, it clashed with. So the Mark II Golf was the way to go. So you know
the family's van.
That was the family van. Could put the kid in there, and then obviously, Wolfgat Nature Reserve. Some drunk guy decided he's gonna come at speed while we're busy traveling home at 60 k's an hour. And this guy decides now he's going to drive into the back of the car.
Oh my God.
And then I went off.
With the whole family in?
No, just me and the wife.
Oh,
Because
okay.
she used to work in Tiger Valley, in Somerset West. So we're now coming home. And that was the end of that car.
Were you guys okay?
Yeah, no, okay.
You know,
it's like plays in slow motion. You see your wife's hair fly forward. It was like...
Oh my God. And you don't even know what's happening because it's coming from the back.
Yeah. And then the next day, when I went to go look at it, I thought, how did
this happen?
This was by the grace of God, because it was dunes. If the car knocked me, I went this way. If I drove another 20 meters, we would have been down the cliff. Because there's a cliff there. Wolfgat Nature was like, we would have gone straight down there.
Oh my word.
And I don't know, like it was my...
Yeah, it wasn't your time.
My drifting ways back in the day, because I just got myself back onto the verge of the road again. I don't know how, but it happened.
Yeah, you saved yourself. Really.
Yeah. So that was the end.
You still had a lot of work to do. That's why God kept you around still.
Yeah, and after that, I think that my next car was a Honda.
The EG.
The EG.
The infamous EG.
The EG.
So the EG is obviously the car
with
that
some
put you...
rims on, 15 inches.
It's the car that put you on the map, right?
Yeah, no, that was the car. And, you know, it was 15s and...
So what color was it when you got it?
It was yellow.
Yellow?
Yeah, and then, you know...
When you got it, did you have the, vision for what you wanted to do, or did that come along the way?
Just start scratching on the front bumper. It needs to go lower.
So bit by bit.
You know, it needs to go lower. The
rabbit
side
hole.
skirts need to
The
go
rabbit
lower.
hole.
Yeah, the rear needs to go lower. And then you know...
So was that car bagged?
No, it wasn't bagged at that time.
Okay.
So that was just, look here, put a kit on it. That was the thing.
But you were doing the custom.
Yeah,
you were making the kits yourself.
Yeah, make my kids. I had an M3 side skirt, and there, but my exhaust was coming out the side of just in front of the wheel. My exhaust was coming on both sides of the car.
Oh.
So, yeah, my wife didn't like driving with the car. We couldn't have a conversation in the car because it was too loud.
Catching out the attention.
Yeah, it was just no. She don't have a conversation with me in this car. You know, it was like that.
Silence. You just
that was my first exhaust. I had cans. You know, back in the day.
So was it straight?
We had these 5-inch exhaust tailpipes. I had
like
2 of them.
That JDM pipe.
Yes, because now that was the look. Mad Max, no, not Mad Max. Max, was it Max Power magazine?
Max Power, yes.
The Brits were doing these big exhausts. We also needed to do that. You know, that was the thing back in the day. So and then.
You know, funnily enough, I actually drove a matric dance I don't know, very, very long ago in the 2000 something. And it was at the CTICC. And your car, I didn't know who you were, man. I was just like, look at this Honda with all the doors
all
doing
the things
doing
this. The lefts and the, yeah, but obviously.
So literally, what did every door have a different hinge?
Look, the first thing that basically started my career.
We're gonna post. We have actually Marley sent us photos of that in a week, so I'm gonna post some.
My first rendition, when I watched Pump My Ride, I saw it was an EG, and they made the doors go up. That was like, And I've got a mechanical engineering background. I studied mechanical, 3rd-year student, never finished. But anyway, so
you learned enough.
Yeah, I learned enough, and all I needed to do was design this hinges to go up. But it took me 6 versions.
Because that was the time when the Lambo doors was like a real trend. It was like trending.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
the guys wanted to start doing it.
Yeah. So that was the thing. I needed to put Lambo doors on my car because
was that the first Lambo project you tackled? Because I know you.
Yes, my car was the first.
Okay.
And I only had the driver's door.
Yeah.
So I always used to ride without my fender.
Yeah. Gary said in the last episode. Yeah.
I always drive without the fender because I'm constantly working on it. And you have to take the fender off, on and on. Fetch the wife at work without my fender on it because I was working that Saturday afternoon. It was when I was doing the back doors. I had wire tying my doors together, and I had to go fetch my because it's the only car you have. You know what I'm saying? But you are customizing it because that's the way to go. So yeah, once I perfected it, then I started getting the first client was also an EG, and then I had to laser cut my own design because my own design, you couldn't get the gas lifts here. So I managed to use what is locally available and had to make my own design accordingly. I couldn't use a copy of what was the overseas thing. I had to do my own thing. And then I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it became nearly 100 of them.
Serious?
That was, back in the day.
And I mean, when I met you, you were like basically known for the Lambo doors.
Yeah, that was what I used to do. So, yeah, as the car progressed, you just, that bug of, you got to change this and you got to change that and you got to change. It was
so you did the first two was the front doors were Lambo doors,
yeah.
And then after that you were like, okay, let me try something else.
Yeah, the kit has to match, and obviously the one client paid me with his 18-inch wheels, Destinies, and okay, now we got 18-inch wheels. Woo! You know what I'm saying? From 15s to 18s, you in the World Cup. You know what I'm saying? So that was just, it was just for me. Look here, okay, now you need to make it look nicer. And I remember back in the day when I used to go to
Street Mods.
No. What's the name?
Lord of the Blinks.
No. I'm talking this custom shop where I met Jason.
Oh.
And Gary and what? Underground Customs. Okay. It was around the corner from me. So I used to I go steal with the ook. I go steal with the ook because I was going to see what are these guys? They're all using body fillers and what are they using?
So what were they doing there that time?
They were doing custom bumpers and stuff like that. So I used to go and hang out there, and that's how I met Jason.
Was he working there?
Yeah, because he was working there. Jason and Garth and Gary used to come when they moved to another workshop, and then you just go hang out there at night. So it was these guys.
Who ran that workshop?
That was what was his name now? Yeah, I can't remember all these names.
We can pop it up on the screen when you remember.
And basically what happened was you used to go and hang out there, and then you watch what these guys are doing, and you imply, I do it at home.
Yeah.
So when I pulled up there with my first front bumper, they were laughing at me because I
You
got
still
a
need to
whole lot
learn
of
this.
rivets, 3 or 4 bumpers riveted together because I wanted this particular shape, and I was just the rivet guy, whereas they were fiberglassing and body filling, and yeah. So
Sanding it smooth.
yeah,
then
and I was just I was the laughing stock of that. I'm just there. I watch him and I see what is going on here,
But you
and
had the passion and the perseverance.
yeah, until I got invited to Lord of the Bling, and there now I had to
Where was
put
the
some
first
sort of
Lord
color on the
Where
car.
was the first Lord of the Blings?
When?
Where? Was it also Group?
No, that was Group Center.
Oh,
Group
so-
Center was
The
the
hub for all shows.
You know,
It was just
because that was a
different.
massive venue. They could put over 100 cars in the venue, and there was a main floor along the
Oh, no, so
outskirts, the
I think-
underground parking. It
Yeah,
was,
when I get Zabby on here, I'm definitely going to deep dive into the whole flow of the things.
that was just the best.
The first thing you see is obviously the massive line up to the Group
The
Center.
food stalls, everything was just
Yeah.
perfect. It was like a perfect
Because you
car
come
show.
in and then there's the hall on the right, main hall on the left. You go into the main hall and you're like, wow, there's so much here. Then they're like, oh no, there's more stuff underground.
Yeah.
You go underground and there's another
There's
show. on
another
itself
show, and
with
the
all
car
food.
clubs were at the bottom, and they had engines, and
Yeah.
that was just a whole
awesome.
different world.
So those shows are really what inspired me to be like, cars are
Because there we could put,
exciting.
we had a checkered vinyl floor. We could have
Do you have
lights.
photos of that?
Yeah, I got all that.
Okay, I didn't see
Vinyl
those.
spotlights around your car. You could do your own display basically, and you get marked in your display. It was, and
So what was it? The EG was on display.
well, no, the EJ was in the front. In the front, when I was in the front, when you come in the foyer, I was there under construction because my car was never done. So I had tape around there saying under construction, and I had a compressor, and I had just all the tools, sandpaper laying around the car. But it was,
theme.
yeah. And then I sprayed the car matte black just for the show. I had no interior. My interior was still dead standard, but I had all the ridiculous stuff going on.
So what made you like? Nowadays, if your cars are not perfect, the people don't want to put them on display.
Wow.
So what made you feel like it was okay then?
No, I was asked, look here, because obviously I had the most ridiculous car there, and this guy had Lambo doors, his bonnet went to the side, his rear doors open
That
suicide.
time, did you already have the feature? Or-
No.
Okay.
Speed and Sound was on my case already.
Okay.
We'd like to feature your car. It wasn't black. I said, no man, I can't do this. I can't feature my car. Give me some
Was it
time.
yellow
Let
still?
me finish. Yeah, let me finish it. And then obviously I had this thing of like, I need to do the interior. Once I've got the outside laid out, and then I had to do the interior. And then it was like, okay, black and white, black and white.
Change it up.
Yeah, no, because I wanted the car to be white, and then everything inside would be black. So you have the black of the door, but the inside of the door was black, and then your plastic
showing-
panel is white, and then
Yeah.
the inside of that is black again, and then it would come to the seat, and it's black and it's white, and so the color would always alternate. Your
Contrast.
carpets are white, and the back of the seat is white again. But that didn't work out when you have a family. Your kids would be.
Oof, the
You
seat
got a
is yellow.
2-year-old running on the back, or the 3-year-old running on the back of the seats, and then white is not a good color to have because you have a white dash. Your ceiling is white. Everything was
the
white.
hands is full of yellow or
Yo!
green it's everywhere.
So that's what you learn, man. White is now you can tell a client, okay, white is not a good color. You're gonna have a glare.
Unless you have no one in the car.
Yeah, you must put a black carpet on your dash because it's gonna be a bad glare in your eyes. And yeah, but it never, once I did the feature of Speed and Sound because it was so rushed. We sprayed the car, did everything we did, and then I realized, I still need to make my doors go upside down. That was the next level. So my rear doors would not just open like this; they would actually turn upside down, and I could.
Full upside down.
Full upside
Because I
down.
only saw them sideways.
You can have them flat as a table, but you can turn them upside down as well. So that was, now your car's already sprayed and now you got to scratch there again. You know what I'm saying? But I had to do it because it was just irking you. You need to still do something else. Because, you know, back in the day, if you go to the one show.
How far you could push
Yeah,
the
if you go
boundaries.
to 1 year, you go to the one show, and the next year you can't come there with the same car. You know what I'm saying? You have to do something differently. And that was back in the day, you know.
But ideally, that is what you want to try and portray even till today.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, who wants to see the same car,
The same thing every year. They come to the same show and they see, okay. I saw that last year.
Oh, you change
People
the
just walk
stickers.
past
You
you.
change the stickers.
Yeah.
So
So
do something that's like exciting, that can really be like, you know, captivating for people to see.
yeah, because people come to the car shows
To see what the people cooked up.
Yeah, and the worst kind of I can say car show goer is the one that is very tactile. He wants to touch your fenders.
Oh.
I had this one kid.
Attendee.
He was probably a teenager, and he comes and he looks and he's like, and he's like physically had to touch the fender. He walks around and he touches everything. And he's standing and this is a show car, and now you must walk with him, you must polish because now the judges never saw your
that
car.
is obviously even
Those are the
worst nightmare.
even though you got a barrier around your car.
He went underneath it. You.
This guy was looking in. He wanted to sit inside the car, but that's your people who
are
are
really
your
like
future.
captivated. Yeah.
Yeah, they
You
are
have to
captivated, and they would like to do this to their cars.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I'm saying?
you obviously now, those are the type of moments you don't want to spoil for the person. Like
Yeah.
you can like guide them and like, you know, maybe nurse them and say, oh, like politely not to touch and whatever.
Yeah.
But there's some people that obviously just leave like a sore taste in that child's mouth, or like brain, because if you're now abrupt with them and like, no, don't touch and whatever, they're gonna feel like a resentment.
The worst
forever.
guy I had was actually turning the doors. At the show, the guy starts turning.
But how did you handle it? Did you like?
You think, oh God, what you
But
doing?
did you just let him do it?
It was too late already. He was busy already turning on the door. You know what I'm saying? Like turning the door upside down. I was like, how does this work? You know what I'm saying? At the car show. But you get to realize, look here, there are those enthusiasts who come for just to see something unusual. And I mean, you got to let it be. You know what I'm saying?
The curiosity is like, it's also getting people to understand, like, you know, respect the person's build, because also you don't know if it's gonna fall off, if they're gonna touch the door, and who's gonna be accountable for that.
But you got to also then you got a family with a mother and the father's enthusiast, and he's got 2 kids. And now come on, sit in the car, take your photos, do your thing. You know, you got to do that as well. You can't just look me. Oh no, you can't touch. Oh,
exactly.
No.
Like I mean, in Durban when we went to Gas Motor Show, a lot of the guys let us sit in the cars and like look in it, and you know, and that makes you feel like comfortable. And you actually, when you get to experience that a little inside, you feel special.
It's like you feel special.
And you're like,
you the first thing for you is like, if I ever got to sit in a Lamborghini, it's like that.
Yeah, you would never forget it. Because it's not like every day it happens.
The first time I'm sitting in a Porsche. Oh, you know. And you as a kid, you would dream of. You got posters of these cars on your walls. Not girls. You got posters of cars on your walls. That
taste inspires you to be passionate about.
You know what I'm saying? And we got to do this for the next generation as well. Because I mean, do you want the people to come there with electric cars at the next show? You know what I'm saying? It's like EVs. Do people customize EVs? No, they take the engines out and they put
another V8 engine.
Yeah, put the V8 engine in. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying? So we don't know what the future is like, but you know.
So that's what we're trying to get at here now. Like basically, that time when you built the EG, you didn't know where it's gonna be now. Like the last few shows, like OTF. Did you see it transgressing into what came out about it now? Like I mean, being in the CTICC, it's like the newer version of the Good Hope Good Hope Stadium.
You know, like I told you, it just seemed a bit more uppity. Uppity. And obviously it was for me personally, it wasn't very tactile. You know, you couldn't have the people. The amount of people there with kids and things like, there wasn't a lot of them. You understand? The kids would like to sit in, Daddy, look at this car, Daddy, look at your, Daddy, look at you know, that type of thing. Compared to back then,
so
there was more of that.
The idea of that is of OTF is to bring that back.
Yeah.
And obviously it's building blocks to get to that again. And once obviously people know it's an annual event, then people will be like, okay, the rest of the families will know, and it will get to that point where, I mean, the last of the Lord and the first and the last of the Lord and the Blings and street models obviously way different, right? The first ones weren't as busy.
Yeah, then we obviously those shows would have car companies advertising. BMW was there, Toyota was there.
Yeah.
You know, just putting their new models on the floor. They had their own space. They had companies. The guys doing Lambo doors was there. With my first Lord of the Bling, there was guys doing Lambo doors. Oh, now you go
And
to
you
their
didn't even know.
I didn't know. But you know, there was guys doing the race car guys with their engines and whatever.
So that's the idea of what OTF is. Obviously bringing back that exhibition feel where there's things that we don't know is happening around in Cape Town or around South Africa, and having a platform for it to shine.
Yeah.
So, but I want to go back. We still need to dig back into the past, and like after Lord of the Brings and Street Mods or the EG, what did you get into after that?
Let me just try and think now. Look, then I started doing my own, and I used to work from home, and then I moved to a workshop with another buddy of mine in Stickland. Did all the Lambo doors there. Then I went to share a workshop with Bradley. Used to have the Silver Server, the M3, and I shared the workshop with him, and I did Lambo doors from there, and I did a couple of, also, I think I did the Skyline, with the R34 front that we customized, and the R34 taillights.
The center.
No.
That's another one.
No, that was the actual Skyline. That was like a Gary Skyline, but we made the front now actually look like a, I had...
Oh, okay. Like an R30. I think it was an R31.
Yeah, no, not the R31. It's the L28 motor.
Okay.
No, he had a R33 motor in there, a turbo motor. But
Crazy.
Yeah, he wanted something totally different. So he had Lambo doors on them, right? And Bradley's Skyline had this McLaren SLR style or butterfly door, which folds like this, like your McLaren's doors.
Just tilts out
it folds out like that. So those are the two.
Yeah, picture that.
And that picture that was Bradley's one was cover of Speed and Sound. Dion's one was a feature in Speed and Sound, his Skyline. And Gary's Skyline was also a feature in Speed and Sound. So
all of them.
Yeah, I had quite a few, and then of course.
So what was your part in Gary's car? Like, did you do everything? Or
No.
I
was just the doors guy. Jason was the customized guy. You
need to get Jason on your next.
I was the doors guy. I was the air suspension guy.
The fabricator guy.
Yeah, I would fabricate, and Gary would just say, look here, let's put air suspension. And and Gary had, we from the old school, we do 20-inch wheels. We don't play with this 17s, 15s, 18s. We go straight to the 20s plus. So, yeah, so
that was all like
that was the way to go. You have to go big wheels. Yeah.
Big wheels, big
So that's
kits.
when my Beetle's got a 20 on it. And that's the same wheel that Gary had on his Skyline, the TSW Kyle Armies. Yeah, okay, nice. Gary would just phone me, Marley, there's a set of TSW Kyle Armies. This guy's selling it for 4,800 rand. 20s with tires.
Go get it.
I went to go get it. And it wasn't a Type R Honda. But, on that Type R Honda, because he had so much negative camber on there, the tire was at least 80% of it, and the inside was smooth on all four tires. Smooth. So he probably thought, okay, this is not working out for me. I'll take the 20s off and probably put his original wheels back on again. Because, that's what I'm saying. And I bought it, and I never turned back. You know what I'm saying? Those wheels are like hard.
So, and that's on the Millennium Bug now?
Yeah, that's on my Millennium Bug now.
You're still keeping the bug?
Yeah, so,
the family.
Yeah, so, the Millennium Bug is, I just had to go back to my roots, which is my bug roots. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm going to say it, Volkswagen cars ride horrible compared to Honda. Hondas are still, look here, when I bought my Honda, it was like day and night. The suspension, because it's,
the Japanese just know
how to do things. The Japanese just know how to do it. The ride quality is so much better. I'm going to say it, you're going to hate it, but look here, Honda ride quality, if the next car, if I ever had to buy a car, it would be a Honda. But obviously I like the Bug. For
the styling.
For the style of the Bug, that was my car. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, the Volkswagen was my thing. So, so the thing is, the The kids of today, we are doing with a different kettle of fish. Everybody wants their own thing.
So now talking to more modern times, like the thing that you're doing most, obviously the e-suspension now, right? And how's your experience been with like the whole A journey, like starting from, you know, fabricating the struts, like, I mean, that time when we were at CSA, we were doing like 30 cars in a year, we were doing fabrication, and now you're doing just ABFT, plug and play stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, the industry has moved on leaps and bounds. You know, when we started out back in the day, I think it was 2012, 2010, around there.
Scratching in
we were still making our own shorts and our own shocks, doing the whole rigmarole. Now you can buy everything off the shelf.
Putting cartridges in the shocks.
Off the shelf, you can get everything off the shelf now. You know, I still do the now and then I do a custom fabrication.
But for what kind of purpose? Like, is it for mostly cars that don't have off-the-shelf
kits? Older cars that will not now. You won't find a kit for it. Now you got a custom fabric. You know what I'm saying? Because nowadays it's not just Polos and Toyotas. That's the only people that bag the cars seems to be. You know, Toyotas and Polos. You know what I'm saying?
So that's one of the things I want to try and, like, you know, unravel is like, why do you think the guys with more higher end cars are steering away from the E? Like, I mean, if you look in the States, the guys are still bagging their Porsches, Ferraris, everything, right? But why in Cape Town and South Africa there's not as much of a demand? Because, you know, those guys have the money. So it's not a matter of the money or saving up. It's more a matter of their trust in, like, E itself. And
I think it's
also like the stigma with the scene they're getting associated with. What do you think it is?
Not just besides the guys who have the money to do it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you must have the money. You'll have the money to do it, but you must also have the willpower to do it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
A lot of guys will not want to scratch where it's not itching. You know what I'm saying? You're going to put air suspension, but does my car really need it? You know what I'm saying? And some say, you know, like my one client would say, look, Marley, I just want to be able to park my car just a little bit lower. And then I want to be able to lift it and drive with the family and go to, you know, to see point and park the car. That all he wants was to park the car lower. And then he says,
was this the Cayman?
No, this is the Golf 7.
Okay.
And then it becomes, look, Marley, do you think you can fit a roll cage in the car? I'm like, huh?
It is one of your biggest rabbit holes.
Yeah, then you just go.
So it's the red chromes Mach 7 that's added OTF.
Where you can, where it just, every week you would phone me and ask me.
And I mean, there's not one thing that's not touched on that car.
There's not touch on the car. You know what I'm saying? So
it came in a standard
GTR. Look, just give me air. I just want to be able to park the car low. And then it just goes down the rabbit hole and it just continues going down that rabbit hole. You know, his daily driver also needs air as well.
What's his daily?
His daily driver was the MP200,
okay.
The white one. And then the MP200 also became a project. And now we're dealing with juggling two projects at the same time. So that is the
that's the type of client that
you have some clients.
The bug bites.
The bug bites, and they just want to keep on customizing. And now I've got his third project that's sitting in the garage.
So what's the car that you're working on now?
Yeah, so it's a Toyota. You know you always see the
slant front, is it?
Yeah, the slant front. The 4-door.
So how does it look now? Standard now, or is it already been touched on?
No. Look here, there was a journey. Remember, I spoke to you last year about this.
Yeah.
We've only got this car now about a month ago, because it went from the owner finding the car, but then the car is too immaculate. You find it from an old lady in Belleville, and it's got just over 100,000 Ks on the clock. Interior is immaculate. The car is immaculate. And he phones me and says, look here, Marley,
it's too clean.
I can't do it. We can't cut this car because we're going to cut the life out of this car and then resurrect it from there. So no, we can't cut this car.
So then what happened?
He buys the car because
like,
it's a collector's item. Yes. He finds another one and he buys that one as well. Too nice. Can't do it. Can't do it. Okay, then we thought, okay, we can't find, because we're looking for cars, but they all are fraught.
Yeah, you need a middle ground.
Rotten.com.
Something that's still decent, but not too clean.
When you go look at them, they are rotten. Froze is bad, everything, because these Toyotas can rust for you. So we wanted something that it was decent, because
something
We tell
that
them,
is
look here, we don't want your motor, we don't want your gearbox, we don't want your drivetrain, we just want the shell. That's all we want. But the shell must be all right. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't find nothing in Cape Town. It was just rotten.com, basically. Go look up in Joburg. Joburg people don't want to sell their good stuff. You understand? Because there you're going to find no rust on this stuff. They won't sell it. Okay, start looking for the station wagon version of it. Start looking for the TRD version, the liftback version. Even because the liftback is your rarest of them all. To find parts for them is even worse.
Yeah, but then that's not even a good idea to go, custom with that.
So he eventually finds a two-door of it.
Okay.
We're thinking we're in the World Cup, but the two-door is too nice. Can't cut it.
So that's why it took so long to get to this point now.
Yeah. So we are at that point where we eventually find one in his cousin's garage under a cover, been standing there for years. So we eventually find this one, and as that is now our donor car. It's got rust on it.
So what's the plan? You didn't tell us now after this whole search. What is the vision?
I'm going to keep it to the basics.
Yeah.
So just think, okay, Toyota. Okay, so we can't put a Lexus motor, not a Lexus motor, LS motor in there. We're going to put a Lexus motor in there because we want to put the biggest, most powerful engine that we can in. Most guys are saying, what are you going to put in there? 2J.
Obvious.
That's been done already. Okay, we're putting a twin turbo. Two turbos, two big turbos. Basically, it produces 1,000 horsepower.
On what? On a V8?
It's a V8, Lexus V8. So it's a Lexus V8 that produces 1,000 horsepower. Now you're already going to ask yourself, is this chassis going to handle 1,000 horsepower? Because a lot of the guys are going to tell you, no, this is going to break.
Yeah,
the body won't be able to handle it. So now we got to,
reinforce.
Yeah, we got to reinforce this. So to what point do we reinforce this? How much? Then we buy the M75 diff, disc brakes on it and everything, get it out of Joburg, and then because the owner owns race cars. So he knows the circles where race car guys, and he finds out, no, that M75 diff that we bought is not going to handle, it's going to break when we launch 1,000 horsepower through it. So we have to use a 9-inch diff now. So that's the strongest diff that will handle the one. So the 9-inch diff, but we from the old school.
But what, like, is this going to be like a race build, a stance build, or just like a custom build?
Okay, it started out as being just a show car. Air suspension, the whole thing. Right. That was the start. Like I told you, we always start out.
Custom interior.
Right. We start out with low balling. Then it's progressed to a point where, look here, Marley, I want to drag race with the car. Once we've done the show circuit, I must be able to drag race with it. So that means this car is basically a drag car. I got to build it to drag car strength.
A show drag car.
But it's going to have air suspension. It's going to have a full roll cage. The chassis must be strong because we're putting 1,000 horsepower through it.
Are you going to do any like custom arches? Are you going to widen it?
Oh yes, we have to because it's Mickey Thompson's at the back. But in its show, guys, we'll have 20-inch wheels at the back. And not just any 20s. It's 15 J20s. So
you're going to run splits?
Yeah.
Or
So it's 15s, 15 Js in the rear. I think it's 10.5s in the front. So the rears are 20-inch.
Yeah, the wheels already.
Yeah. The rears are 15 Js, 20s. The fronts are 19. So we're staggering. So, nobody normally does stagger.
Yeah,
everybody does
Porsche
as 1919. We are going big and smaller in the front.
With the same design.
Yeah. But now remember, if we're putting a 9-inch diff on there, on the Toyota slant front, whatever shape you call it, and you're putting 15J wheels on it, you're telling yourself, we are going to be sticking out
hell of a lot.
Hell of a lot. So we're widening the car. We wide bodying it as wide as the wheels are going to allow us to wide body it. You see, so now we're going to look at proportions now. So
that's basically a whole year's worth of what you're going to be doing now on this thing.
Yeah,
you're going to finish
the Golf 7 was 3 years.
Are you going to finish it for OTF 25?
No, remember what I told you when we spoke initially? If I have to do it under construction and have a rolling chassis, I'll get to that point. If it's the one side,
You bring back that old vibe of it's
yes,
under construction.
it's under construction.
But this is where it's at.
But this is where we're getting. But now that is okay. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because that
you
is.
save that for the.
I'm going to save you that for the because like I said, it's this is our starting point. We're building the show full metal jacket, full metal car, fabricated out of metal, but it's going to be a body that we can actually take off.
What?
Yeah. So the suspension won't be your normal struts in the front. It's going to be independent front suspension. You know, upper control arm, lower control arm.
And a tubular design.
It'll have tubular in there. It'll have. Look here. The thing is, I'm going to cut so much on the car. My grind is going to work overtime.
So because basically, like, because you didn't end on the Honda, the EG. Like, obviously, you started to cut that thing up.
Yeah, no, I cut it.
The last phase of that thing, it was when it was at like it was gonna go 2 doors.
Yeah,
lower the roof.
Yeah, I did the chop roof. I did. Yeah, I was basically gonna make it a R8 twin engine version of like R8, but it would be a Honda. Yeah. The Honda NSX.
So basically, like the full tilt version of Marley was what you're gonna be doing. Yeah. You're gonna be doing that now in this.
Yeah, you know, I can thank God that the fact is there's a client that actually wants you to go
balls to the wall.
You put it that way. Look here, let's do this because we want to make a statement. You know, we want to say, look here, this is what we can do locally, not just our white friends that can do it. We in the it's always been that way. Yeah. You know, our white folks see us doing it and they, I'm not gonna get into that thing, but they always back in the day as well. What doen daardie kleurling ouens? The guys in Cape Town are basically leading, and the rest of the country is gonna follow. You know,
with the
customization. I mean, if we were doing it before they were doing it, you know.
So you basically want to bring it back to the time where you guys are cutting edge in the front of it. Because I mean, there are big builds around South Africa. It's like there is that slant front from, I think it's Durban, that purplish one. With that whole car has been like obviously redone and I'm not sure. I think there's also like a big V8 with turbo in there.
But they're not going to go to where we're going.
With obviously the exterior
with
customization.
The widening of the car. The wheelbase will probably be longer because remember, the wider you go, and you're going big wheels, it's going to look like a small car. So I might extend the wheelbase because also lengthening the wheelbase will help as far as the drivability of the tracking, all those things. So
you got a lot of work.
We got a lot of work ahead of us. You know, I can plan in my head what I'm going to do, but until I take that grinder and I start it.
Where do you see it? What state is it going to be in at OTF 25?
I don't know.
What prediction wise? Well, obviously, I think you'll at least focus on the track and the width.
Yes, we're going to be because our starting point is firstly
to get the rolling chassis,
putting wheels on it, first putting the diff on it, and then putting the 15s on the 15Js on it because 15Js is not. Look here, the lip is going to be that long. That is the size of the lip because, you know, you see those pictures in the magazines where there's a baby resting on that lip. We want a big lip. We don't want to go like, just a lip like that. We want a big lip. Like look at Kwasim. The guys are basically pushing the boundaries where Kwasim's lip is huge.
Yes.
People don't realize that. You know what I'm saying? He's got a wide body kit, but people don't realize what the guys have to do to get the car to that point.
M3 is really underrated.
He has pushed the limits. You know what I'm saying? And there isn't, you know, there's only a few, you know,
guys pushing that boundary.
Few guys who are pushing the limit.
So this is why we're obviously having you on the show. We want to encourage guys to be pushing the boundaries in the automotive culture and the customization. And
but I also wanted to say, guys, I know some guys will have money, but when I start, I'm going to give you, when I did my car, cover of speed and sound and everything, it cost me like 15 grand back in the day.
So,
15,000 rand.
what you're obviously trying to say there,
But I
is
had
that
lots of help from my friends.
yeah,
You
is that
understand?
money shouldn't be the obstacle.
Money shouldn't be your obstacle.
Yeah.
If
You need
you
to find-
feel you are going to, it's like me, when I started
Be
out,
creative.
the only tools I had was a grinder, a drill, and a welding machine. I started,
And your
literally
friends.
started
And
out
your
there.
friends.
And I had a shade cloth in my yard. That's where I started. You know, my dream was to do this with the minimal tools that I
And
have.
so before that, you had no experience, no knowledge of
Yeah,
those
it's,
kind of
it's
things?
okay. I have a mechanical engineering background. That'll help me with strength of materials and a whole lot of things. When you look at something, is this gonna actually hold this power? Is this gonna be able to do that? You gotta.
It gives you that
It
inclination.
gives you that. If I didn't have that,
that instinct, basically.
not
like
instinct. If
no,
I
like
didn't have
experience and knowledge.
the knowledge as far as look here, this is mechanical
gonna hold.
engineering. You can't just put a thin pipe here and think that thin pipe is gonna hold it's gonna bend. You know, you got to think of torsional strengths. What is the one doing and what's the other one pulling? The other one is under tension.
And you know, that's one of the things that I actually admired of, like, you know, seeing you do all the air suspension and all the fabrication work is not just that you didn't just wing it.
Yes, you can't
actually
wing it. You're
'Cause-
putting people's lives at risk. You can do your own thing here,
Yeah.
and somebody rides off the road because the strut broke,
Yeah,
and
because you didn't
that
get the
person dies, and now
factor in the
you know
specs, right?
It's horrible. So you got to do it right.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's not just like you just sucked it out of your
you
thumb.
can't just suck things out of your thumb. You know, a lot of people don't realize if you do things right, it comes back to you. You get better clients because people know you're going to do it right. I give a guarantee on whatever I do. So I give a year guarantee. So if it fails within that year, come back to Marley. He's going to fix it. You know what I'm saying?
You can have it.
Not just a fly-by-night thingy. The guy phones you. I'm not going to answer this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Ghost you
you
when you're standing on the
ghost
side of
you.
the road.
Yeah, and you're standing on the side of the road on the R300, and
Yeah.
you in the middle of the night, and there's
With your family on your way home.
yeah, your car fails. People must be able to phone you any time of the night and say,
come
"Look,
and
Molly,
help them out."
what must I do?"
So yeah, thank you for that deep
Yes.
dive and rundown into your past and the history. It was actually nice and informative.
Anytime, Mr. Adrian.
Yeah,
You know.
and we now brought everybody up to speed on your, you know, your current build now. So now
Yeah.
you can obviously we'll plug. When you gonna have that YouTube ready?
I don't know. When I start in this car, I was thinking, look, when I start in this car, okay, I'm not the YouTube guy. I must still get my sons involved here. They're gonna do the things. I'm just
Commission them to be the media team.
yeah. I need a media team behind me, so my sons will handle all of that.
But for now, they can follow you on your socials.
Yeah, you
on
can- I'm
Marley's
on
Garage.
Marley's Garage
and then
on
you'll
Instagram.
link. You'll segue
And
back
then
into that.
I'll do some tidbits there. You can see what I'm. Oh, it's already.
busy with.
Yeah, it begins. That's
Is
what
it
I'm
on
saying.
there already?
I've started the. It
Posting.
begins. Yeah, where the cars arrived. We've taken the engine and gearbox out. The diff has to go out still. So when the parts start arriving, and
You know, the
then
whole thing
I will
will
start. Yeah, things will start building from there.
Yeah, once you actually have a little bit of more meat to your
Yes,
story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can't decide where I'm going to start until I have components in my hands and then say, oh, okay, ooh, that's
Oh, but
wide.
it's a very exciting project. I'm keen to see where it goes and
Yeah.
what you come out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we had enough of a chat today. Is there any other topics you want to unravel?
No, it's like I say, I
Like, yeah, is there any sentiment you want to leave at the end of this podcast?
just make sure on your air suspension, guys, please, make sure that you got a drain on your tank. That's all I'm going to say. Because I see it with my own two eyes multiple times where you have guys who install and they got steel tanks and they don't put a drain on it.
If you hear water sloshing around
If
in
you
your
hear
car,
water sloshing
you know
around, you know
it's in your tank.
you didn't have a drain on your tank because you're supposed to drain it. That's all I'm going to say.
And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Amen.
Thanks, Mr. Marley.
Adrian.
It was great.
Yeah,
See how long that was.
that's my last words. Put a drain on your tank.